Zoom recording here. How's everyone doing today? All right. Well, again, welcome to Wednesday. Good, Alan. Great, Imran. Yeah, we've got in North Carolina, we've had some pretty rainy weather. It's beautiful today, and yesterday was pretty nice. And then tomorrow's freezing rain, and then next week's back into the 60s. So that's why I moved here. One of the reasons, anyway. Yeah. All right. So very interesting times here right now. Okay. And so let me kind of give you my analysis of the markets, and then we'll go into, I'll look at some of the stocks you want me to look at and so forth. But here's where, no matter how long you've been trading, when you see something that's setting up like it should, the hardest part is not going in too early. Okay. And you might say, well, what am I talking about? So, we've been talking about this for a while, right? The NASDAQ, the Dow, the S&P, right? They've all been in this massive uptrend, and we don't really want to go and fight that uptrend for the most part, right? But we can get some nice retracements during that. I only typically do that a couple times a year, okay? So when you look at the seasonality, okay, which is this red dotted line, or the purple is the 5-year, okay? From left to right here until mid-March, we usually head lower, right? It doesn't mean a market crash, it just means we head lower. So one thing we have going for us there is we're typically going lower right about now. Okay, we did last year. Yeah, same with me, Charles, on the 20 over here, this 20. Again, it's not an indicator issue, it's a think or swim issue. For some people, the 20 is working. It's really bizarre. For a while there, none of it was working, and it was taking a really long time. I've put tickets in with Thinkorswim to, and it's not my only indicator as well that's happening too. But anyway, they're working on it. I'm having the same issue right now. Same issue. Okay, so with this potential downturn, okay, I'm looking for indication. Well, look at today possibly. The Hockenotti's turning red, right? We're getting the Laguerre starting to turn. Is this the start of a move down to that bottom band, or maybe a little bit further? Okay, again, not going to be a market crash, but can we make money from here to here or here? Possibly, right? I've been waiting to see if we get some sort of divergence like we did back here. No divergence yet. I brought up the ES as well to check for divergence. Okay, no recent divergence on that. We'll talk more about divergence next week. But I don't want to overreact, right? Because this could just be a small retracement to resume new highs. We don't know yet, okay? We don't know yet. We do know the NASDAQ is weaker than the Dow right now. Okay. And it's weaker than the ES, the S&P. So we don't want to overreact. That's my point right now. Sorry, this was a trade we were looking at getting in. We never got filled for that nice play, right? Sometimes that's trading. You miss out because you just didn't. I wanted a retracement. I wanted a retracement on that. Okay. So again, just keep that in mind, folks, right now. I like this time of year getting ready for a short. I don't want to go in too early, though. Okay. Is the NASDAQ going to lead the cause? Again, we don't know yet. We just don't know yet. Okay. It certainly is a weaker right now of the two. We have today's action. Okay. The Laguerre is starting to come down. We're not sure. So I'm kind of waiting. And if we get an indication going into tomorrow, we get the Laguerre heading down some more, another red Hockenotchi, that could be our entry point for some short plays. Okay. What is the risk? You're fighting this trend, and retailers are still not short. which can change quickly, but they're still net short. So we're getting some conflicting information, but what I'm looking at doing in my own account, if we get a rollover here tomorrow, looking at some short plays, okay? Because I do trust the Laguerre, I do trust the Hackenacci. We just don't know how far it's going to fall if and when it falls, right? Yeah, you can definitely look at the smaller time frames. Great point. Great point. You know, if you bring up the 4R and the NQ, okay, we had that nice trigger right here, combo short as well, at 9 o'clock Tuesday, right? Absolutely, you can do that. But again, we're at support on that bottom Bollinger Band on the 4-hour. So what's going to happen? Is it going to break through? What's it going to do, right? But yeah, no, great point on that smaller time frame. Okay, VIX. So here's my plan. I put in a small position on the VIX long in my personal account. Okay, not publicly, just today because it's aggressive. In my opinion, that's a little bit aggressive. Okay, but you can see the move that typically happens, and I did a small position so I could add into my position. Okay, so if it works out right away, great. If it doesn't or it consolidates, I'm going to add more into this long VIX. Okay, but you can see where I'm going, right? It typically, you know, kind of bottoms right about here, and now we had higher, you know, for this spike, right? Where the VIX goes up, the markets typically come down, right? Most of the time anyway. So I like this play. You know, you can see back here again, we had some divergence here and it caught it really nicely. There's no divergence to the downside here, anything like that. But I do like this bullish Hackenacci candle. Okay, I do like that. So it's just something I'm doing. But a quarter of my normal size. All right, dollar index. So now we're getting the long trigger on the dollar index today, okay? This isn't, by definition, this is a lower high. I'm sorry, a higher low. So if you're trying to take this type of trade for the next week or two, you could. I'm not taking it. It's too close to consolidation. It's just not something I like. Okay, I like it more to the short side later, you know, right around mid-March. But you could talk me into this for sure because we're hitting higher lows and more than likely it's going to break out a little bit here, consolidate probably around 92.5, and then it can roll back over at some point. Okay, remember the overall trend is down, the larger trend, right? All right, crude oil. Just keeps going, right? Just keeps going. This is again where if you took this long play, it's a pretty easy decision to stay in, right? Nothing's indicating, no red dots. Laguerre's hanging up to the top. Nice bullish Hackenacci candles. There's no reason for you to exit this trade. You probably took some profits, you know, and now you're just enjoying life. So good trade on that if you did that. You know, even though we typically getting ready for a seasonal move down, as long as you're in the trade and everything's indicating higher, stay in it, folks. Don't just exit. Okay, that's why we have the Laguerre and the Hackenacci to really help us make as much money as we can. Okay, there's no reason to get out at 58 bucks or 60 if it's still saying we should head higher, right? Maximize your profits. Maximize your profits. Excellent. That's the way to do it, John. All right, so Google. Again, I'm waiting, you know, for that short play on some of these. Personally, you know, some of the big stocks that we would love to have owned, I don't short those nearly as much during these downturns. Okay, I wait for them to retrace, and then when we get into mid-March, April, I like to take them at discounts to the long side. Okay. Some of the stocks that I own, again, I don't have many stocks that I own outright. That's just not my trading style, but some of them that I do own that I'm holding on to for a long time, I will sell puts that kind of, then you can make money on the downside when when the stocks are going down as well, to reduce that cost basis. But again, Google at this point, Hakanashi's telling you we're kind of in consolidation here at this point. Wait for that retracement, then we can look for a nice long play. Bonds. So again, this is where I want to pause a minute and spend just a couple minutes on the bonds, okay? So when you blow this up, remember, we've been in a downtrend since August, right? Beautiful lower highs. So remember, no matter what seasonality is telling you, right? First of all, for people that don't believe in seasonality, I know you all do, or you wouldn't be on this webinar probably, right? Or I'm sorry, Jeff. Yes, thank you. So let me clarify something. Yeah, so if I own, let's say I own a bunch of Apple stock, and then I think Apple's going to go lower right now, okay? What I like to do is buy puts, okay, so that I can make money on the downside from the option standpoint to reduce my cost of that stock. Sorry about that. Yeah, thank you very much. Yep. Okay, so remember, we're in this massive downtrend. Now, where this seasonal indicator comes in handy, folks, other than the forecast, right, which is the red line. Look at the white. This is what should have happened. So from left to right, okay, bonds since November to right now, right, you draw the line as slanting upward. It should have gone higher, okay? It's never going to be perfect, but if regular price, which is this red and green line, was close, good enough, normal, right? But it isn't, right? Look at this. It should have gone higher based on seasonality. It's gone lower. So seasonality right now on bonds is not acting normal, okay? Not acting normal. Just like a stock sometimes doesn't act normal this particular year during this time of year, for example. Whatever it is, you can give me fundamental reasons, you can give me economy reasons, it doesn't matter. It's not matching what it should be doing. So there's more risk, or don't take it, okay? Or you want to wait for these short opportunities, okay, because it's been much weaker than the normal strength. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so anyway, you shouldn't have been taking any long opportunities based off of that. But even if it was following a decent pattern here, remember the trend is strong. So what you really want to do is wait for it to match the seasonality if it's matching for that year well. This year it's not, so that's why you haven't heard me talking much. Well, I haven't been trading bonds, right? But I talk about it once a week to give you an update, but that's why I haven't been trading, okay? I have loved it to the short side though. I mean, this is a great trigger with this Laguerre here, okay? Right here, let me blow it up and then think, okay? Right here, you got the red Hackenacci and Laguerre, okay? That is a beautiful trade, okay? I did not take this, okay? Mainly because to me, it looked like a potential bottom with this seasonal move, okay? And bonds has been acting unconventional lately. So to me, it was just a little bit more risk than I wanted to take, okay? But just by looking at a chart in a downtrend with the Laguerre and red dots, that's a nice looking trade, okay? Okay. The euro. You can see we're getting a short trigger on the euro, US dollar. The short side here, we're kind of close to a bottom. So again, the markets are just having one of those days where things are different instruments are heading lower. This could be a nice double bottom to look to go higher. You know, I'm only looking for longs on the euro US dollar right now. Gold is starting its move down. You know, again, I get some emails and some comments is because people are buying Bitcoin now. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe that's true. Remember, typically though, so from December, late November to December until right about now, they typically go higher, gold. right? This year, it made its move early, right? Then it's been going against that. So at the beginning, it followed the seasonal pattern. And then since the start of the year, it hasn't been, okay? So what does that mean? Well, now we're going into a seasonal short until mid-March. So if we get a retracement and another signal short, I'll be all over that, okay? I'll be all over that. What are some ways of doing that? Absolutely. You can look at your 4-hour chart, wait for the next retracement, and then the trigger, you know, like right here was an opportunity for you to hit that. There's a lot of ways to play that. And then once we get into, especially early May, you know, then I start looking to the long side again on the metal. So, you know, I don't know if it's too much affected by Bitcoin. There's a lot of money just waiting on the sidelines right now for people to put somewhere. You know, but again, when we look at Bitcoin, hit new highs again today, right? We are getting some potential divergence, but, you know, we had the January move down, and then we had that beautiful trigger. And again, if you're using Laguerre with Hackenacci, you're still in this beautiful trade, right? And that's the point. You never know going into it how big the move is going to be. But if you have specific rules, you don't have to sit there at night thinking, gosh, should I get out of this? What do I need to do? You know, you've probably taken some profits on this, you know, but there's no reason to exit this entire trade yet, okay? That's where it can really help you. These are real bullish candles too. So again, there's no, you know, back here, there was no reason to think that we're heading lower yet, okay? Okay, so Shopify had earnings today. It beat the estimates, okay, and the stock's going down. Not a whole lot though. But anyway, what I'm looking at on something like Shopify, you know, come on down, give me that retracement, and then we get into mid-March, beautiful play, right? So if Shopify can come back down to this 1100 level and then give us a trigger long in a perfect situation, that's what I'd be looking for, right? Absolutely. So be patient on some of these right now as we're kind of awaiting market direction. Okay, I do think we're going to get a downturn. We just don't know how great it's going to be. Okay, it could be starting today, it may not be. We don't know yet. Okay. All right, so AMC, right? Just wanted to bring that up there. So we had a big move on AMC with Reddit. Now they're holding on to that. Hopefully a lot of them are going to hold on to it for a while, because it's definitely something where this could stay down here for a while, right? Short float is still pretty significant though. So I do think we'll have another move up, but it could be a while. Those shorts will probably hold on to it for a while at this point. Same with GameStop, you know, it looks almost identical, right? But we still have quite a bit of short interest out there, 42% of short float, which is pretty significant. It was much higher, okay? So but there's still 42% out there of available shorts. So of all the short float, 42% of them traders are short of options, okay, of the stock and options. So I won't be surprised to see another move up at some point. Okay. When I see something on the news like AMC or GameStop, I don't trade those. Okay. Or if I was going to trade them, I always go in the opposite direction of what the news is saying. Okay. And I'm not being silly. That's exactly what I do. Okay. Okay. Let's see if there's anything else I wanted to talk about here. So Apple. So I'm in an Apple long right now from the Laguerre trigger. It's gone against me. Okay. I went in half a position. So what's my plan on this? Okay. Apple's going to go with what the markets do, right? Because Apple makes a lot of the market. So my plan is if we get another down day, I'll probably exit Apple so that I can preserve capital to get back in long here in the near future, okay? Again, it's not about wins and losses. It's about protecting your profit. This was a nice opportunity. I knew we were going to get a move back down at some point. I certainly thought on Apple with the triggers that I'd make money quick enough to then get out, okay? And it can still happen. Nothing, we don't know yet. But if I have another down day on Apple, I will more likely exit my trade with the hope then I'll preserve capital to look to get back in cheaper, right? Because we don't know how far it's going to fall. I mean, after I'm out, the farther it falls, the better opportunity I'm going to have to take it up to that target of 200, I think is going to go this year, okay? So I'm just waiting to see. You know, today's Hackenacci is pretty bearish, folks. So, you know, if tomorrow's bearish, I'll be out. AMD. So AMD, again, if it gives us these discounts, okay, one of the things, for those of you that only do long plays, one thing that you should be excited about is when we do have market declines, that you can be extremely patient now with the tools that you're watching, okay? And one of my plans here on AMD is once we get that discount, once it comes back, okay, I'm going to look to enter this as a longer term play, okay? So you can kind of, and you might say, well, when are you going to enter? Either when the Laguerre comes back out of the green, right? Or let's say the Laguerre comes halfway down and then starts rotating up with a new green dot at that point, that could be my entry. Okay, so have a plan. Just don't get into a trade. Have a plan on when you want to get into that. Okay. Okay, so COF, so Capital One, I have a put plan here, a short play. Okay. Currently, I'm down about 50% on that short play. Why am I still in it? Because I don't want to be wrong. No, that's not why, folks. So you can see today it's closing potentially lower than what it opened, but we're getting divergence here and a nice short coming. Okay, so if we hit new highs this week, I'll be out of this trade. But if we don't, it's going to roll over. When it rolls over, it's going to be pretty hard. Okay, so that's kind of my thoughts on COF. I'm actually pretty surprised that it's made this move. It's typically weak right now, but regardless, okay, I have a plan, and that's what's important. Okay, divergence is pretty strong. We're going to talk about more about this divergence next week. It doesn't mean it's picking that particular necessary that day. Divergence can trigger, and then it takes 3-4 days at times. Okay, but it's pretty strong. So if we start getting red Hackenacci candles with this divergence, I think it's going to at least go back to that 100 level pretty quickly. Okay. Sure, Tesla, let's take a look. So again, you know, here's the beautiful thing about a stock like Tesla, okay? If you're in this and you have if you bought the stock, like I know a lot of you have it, right? Once you get these sell triggers, knowing you have that seasonal short, right, you can make money on the short side with options. That way it reduces your cost. You make money on the downside with your option play, and then you can go long again in the future and buy more stock at Tesla. Okay? But let's say you're only trading options on this. And here's the beautiful thing. Now you have an easy plan. When are you going to go long? Whenever you get a green Hackenacci candle with the Laguerre trending up, right? Like back here, right here, okay? Like right here. These are your entry points. So you're just waiting at this point. Is it going to be Friday? Is it going to be next week? Is it going to be a month from now? Whenever that is, okay, that is your plan on buying Tesla. Again, if you don't own it, the farther it falls, the better price you're going to get to make it back up to this 1,000 level soon. Okay, but there's there's no overthinking it. You just wait. You wait until the indicators tell you it's time to go. Okay. Yeah, it's a good play, John. Absolutely. Okay, so let's see here. Let me take a look at AMD again here. Maybe if I can type. Yeah, so Bill, this hasn't actually triggered yet. It's kind of hard to tell on here on AMD, but it's not below this 0.2 or I'm sorry, 0.8. Okay, it's close, but in theory, it's not. Now I'll go in sometimes, if I want to get in an aggressive move, short or long, as long as it's halfway up and you got the Hackenacci dot in the same color, I will jump the gun at times. But this hasn't officially triggered yet. Okay, based on the formula. Okay, so NVIDIA. Again, a good way with the Hackenacci, we know a lot of times the Laguerre in a trend won't always give us that move all the way back down to the green and pop up, right? So again, ways to re-enter a trade if you really like it, okay? And you're looking at the seasonal, you like it. So back here, you had a red change in color, so you just kind of sit on your hands. Then you got the first yellow dot, which is the first green Hackenacci candle, and then the next day is your entry, okay? Next day is your entry. That's how you can get into these trades, even if the Laguerre doesn't always give you that perfect situation from a rule base, okay? I'm actually surprised it kicked up as high as it did, because you can see back here, the ADX is red too, meaning high probability of consolidation. But then a few bars later, it turned yellow, okay? So people ask me, do I ever not take a trade because of ADX? Very rarely do I say, okay, I love everything about it except ADX, so I'm not taking the trade. But what the ADX does for me is, if I was taking this trade with a potential consolidation, if it's a longer term play, then it's irrelevant to me, if you were doing something like a December expiration. But if it's more like a 2 or 3 month option play, I'm going to go in a half of my normal size if I have a potential consolidation with that red. Okay, that's how I play it. Rarely do I not enter the trade. It's usually a position sizer for me. Okay. Yes, good question. So Domino's. So I'm holding Domino's through earnings. Okay. Now, granted, folks, there's always risk on holding something through earnings, right? Absolutely. Earnings is typically something with Domino's that I like holding into, though. So I purposely get into a trade. I'm probably going to add in personally here soon as well for earnings. Okay. But again, look at what happens after earnings then. Okay. It goes higher. So, it's really literally just been consolidating here is all it's been doing, right? Consolidating, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Probably something will happen during earnings. If not, we'll probably start the trend then right after earnings. So yes, I am staying in through earnings. I don't do that on a lot of stocks. Domino's is one of them. Okay. Okay. What else we got here? Any other you want me to look at? Oh, so okay. So again, when I got into Domino's, AJ, if you're just following rules and you want to limit losses, and have gains as large as you can get them, you can absolutely get out here if it closes like this, where the Laguerre is coming down, you got a red dot. Okay, that's probably why John was asking me about Domino's as well. The reason I'm not getting out on this is I have a longer term dominoes play. Okay, so when I'm looking at longer term, I typically will look at the weekly dot as far as if I want to exit the trade. Okay, but I'm staying into earnings. That was just a decision I had made right when I got into dominoes, which I did last year. Okay, I did that last year. So I don't want to complicate things for you, but to answer your question, you absolutely can get out and then just wait for a re-entry on dominoes if that's what you choose to do. Absolutely. You're then following these specific rules. I follow these specific rules 90% of the time. This is just one of those situations with dominoes that I like to hold it in during earnings. Okay, I do every year. Even if I'm up, I keep a portion of my trade through earnings. Okay, good question. Okay, let me go ahead and run some scans here. Okay, so again, if you sort by 1.0 and you're looking for the Gare long and long, that's how you can match these, right? And so then you can look to see if it's matching your seasonal. And again, I'm really being careful this week as I'm waiting for direction. Okay, I'm waiting for direction right now because if we're going to get better discounts, there's no reason to rush in on some of these. Okay, and that's just something that you'll see. So one of my new trades today, because it doesn't really go with the indexes, it's kind of got its own mind. Okay, was BCRX. So I'm long BCRX. Again, why? We typically have a nice run up for another week or two, and we have a trigger with the dot. I'm not looking to make 10,000% on this. I'm just letting to see if it can go up the next few days, and then I'll exit. Okay. So I'm looking at things that aren't always correlated, highly correlated with the markets, that have their own seasonal brains. Okay, is what I'm looking at right now. That's the safest bet. Look at the ones that are independent from what the overall market does. Okay, BCRX is one of those. Okay, so that's one of the things you can do as you're kind of going through with the indicators and that. You know, if you know, for example, that the S&P, let me make this smaller for you, has this dip coming, right? Typically, but then you find a stock that doesn't have a big dip. Okay, like this one has a dip even on Adobe, right? You have to go through and filter through some of those. Okay, those can be some of your plays. Okay, and you know, most of them are going to follow that scenario, but not all of them. And then once we get the short triggers, we can take them short if we want. Okay, but I know many of you don't do short plays, so sit on your hand, let the retracement happen when it happens. Okay, if it happens, and then you're going to get discounts on the long plays. Okay, you can take a week or two off if needed, right? It does. You don't. The more trades you have does not mean the only way you make money, because not losing money can be very beneficial as well during those time frames. Okay, those of you that have more experience, that you do more short plays, okay, then you can go ahead and make money on that short side as well. Okay, you know, I am looking at doing a short on the Qs, you know, if we get another day resumption. But again, you know, it's breaking. You're going to break this big trend to do that. Okay, so just got to really play that one by ear. If the Hackenacci tomorrow is a nice solid red, okay, that tells me we probably have a few days to the downturn with that Laguerre trigger. Okay. Okay. So let's take a look here. We've got, hey, Bill, that's interesting. I'm not sure why. Go ahead and send me a screenshot on that. Let me look at that later. So CRUS, Crust Logic. You can see here, the play is really in April to the move up. Okay, so we're going to ignore that signal. If you're looking for some shorts, you can go to the 1.0 minus 1.0 reds. You know, APT has this move down. You see right here. I would have liked to see some divergence too here, but we got the Laguerre trigger, we got the red dots. You know, probably going to see APT head down for a little while here. Let me bring up a little bit bigger list here. That way, if you're looking for short opportunities, bear with me, let me look for it. It is nice to see that this is updating fast again, right? We just got to get that 20 going. All right, so nothing new there on the minus 1.0. Okay. ABB's got a decent opportunity to the short side here. Resumption down, lower high. We can keep an eye on that one too. Okay. What else we got? Do you have anything you want me to look at today? Anything else? The other thing, folks, is next week, when we go through their scans, we're going to look at and talk about divergence a little bit more. I want to be a little bit more prepared and give you some examples of divergence. The nice thing about divergence too, you can use it on smaller time frames so that, again, if you're looking to enter or exit a trade using divergence, it can be, you know, it can be pretty useful. You know, programming's now made it very easy that you don't have to think it. It'll show up on the screen if you have divergence. Yeah, let's take a look at that. So, you know, so a couple of things like Home Depot, okay? We typically have that decline before the nice move up, okay? It's one of my favorite longs coming up, you know, as a longer term play. Again, let me just kind of bring this in. So the bigger the discount you can get, right, the better the play. I mean, you could literally do a play on Home Depot through the end of the year long once you get this retracement, okay? Earnings is coming up. I would wait through earnings on this one. You know, if you get, when you get that down move, if you get it, you can then wait for your indicators to tell you to go long. But yeah, lumber in general is getting bullish here soon. So be patient on that so that you can grab that potential discount, okay? All right, lean hogs. So again, it should be no surprise that we made that massive move up, right? It's just a matter of hitting it, right? It was forecasted. Again, for whatever reason, lean hogs this time of year is bullish, folks, okay? But again, if you took it, you might have got out right here. See where the red dot is? Then you get in 2 bars later again, okay? But you know, now the point is, how high is it going to go, right? We don't know. We just know it's still time to stay in this trade. Typically, we top, you know, not for a while. So if you caught this, you could be in it for a while. One thing I am looking at, sugar typically has us move down now, okay? So again, I'm just waiting. It hasn't done a lot recently, so it's not super bullish from the recent activity. So if we get that move down, I will wait for the second trigger on this though, because it has been heading higher since mid-December, but sugar is typically getting ready to go short. And if you look at something like soybean mills, okay, really we want to look for it to go higher. So you're just basically waiting for that new trigger. Okay, we're in some consolidation right now. The trigger today with the green dye, just caution that because you could be in here for a while, but when it breaks out, the odds are it's going to the upside, right? Until basically June. So if you like to trade soybean meal or soybeans, you can look to take a long play. Major move up, consolidation. Now it should head higher at some point here in the near future. Okay. Oh, excellent, John. Gotcha. All right, so folks, to kind of recap then, what are my overall thoughts? I do think we're getting close, if not at it right about now, on a short play in the markets. Okay, but remember, two things are against us to do that. One, you're fighting this trend, and even as we speak, you can see how the futures are wicking right back up potentially here, right? Two, retailers are still short. So what does that mean? It's not going to be a hugely active week for me so far. I've got one trade on a stock that is not really influenced by the overall markets. Okay. I'm just kind of waiting at this point. When it gets going to the downside, if it does, okay, there's plenty of time to make money on that downside. Or if you only look for long plays, sit on your hands then and wait. You're going to be able to follow the rules, right? So again, you can wait until you get a new long trigger, which could be a week from now, a month from now. You don't have to sit there. You can just wait and see when that's going to happen. That's how you can stay out of trouble, okay? And that's how I recommend doing that. So next week when we talk, I'm going to focus in on, again, what the markets have been doing, and then bigger picture on divergence. I want to talk more about that, how I use divergence as part of my trading, and then open it up to any questions that you all have, okay? All right, folks, well, have a great rest of the week then, and I'll see you all next week. Good luck, everyone.